Hi everyone. Today we are going to see about British literature and the theories. Introduction to literary theory. Literary theory provides different perspectives in analyzing the text by the various forms. It emerged from classical criticism, that is from Aristotle. The idea of interpreting literature back from ancient Greece, where philosophers like Plato and Aristotle they laid the foundation of literary criticism. Theories examine form, structure, history, psychology, society, and power. Literary theories are frameworks to analyze, interpret, and evaluate literature. This theories helps us understand texts from different perspectives like language, structure, history, psychology, and identity, etc. Different approaches lead to multiple interpretation of a single text. No single theory is absolute. Each provides a unique lens in analyzing the particular text with a particular perspective. Literary theory enhances critical thinking and analytical skills. This presentation explores 24 major theories we are going to see in detail. Starting with formalism, or we call it as new criticism. This emphasizes close reading, analyzing text without external context. Formalism is also known as new criticism. This focuses on independently of external influences such as history, author's biography, or social context. It treats literature as a self-contained and structured object, emphasizing close reading and textual analysis. Rejects author's intention, that is intentional fallacy, and reader's emotions, we call it as affective fallacy. These are the two fallacies we come across in new criticism. Here the key figures are example of Clint Brooks, A.R. Richards, John Crew Ramsden. Literature should be self-contained without reference to history or politics. This analyzes Shakespeare's sonnets purely through poetic devices. This encourages deep textual analysis. It ignores context. Next we have structuralism. Structuralism examines literature through the underlying structures of language, narrative and culture. It is based on the idea that all human understanding comes from binary oppositions. We call it as good versus evil, male versus female, and the meaning is constructed within the systems. This was influenced by Ferdinand de Saussure. Language is a system of signs. Literature flows universal patterns and structures. Folk tales share 31 functions of storytelling. Example, La Vistas, Roland Barthes, and Trudeau. They focus on hidden structures and deep meanings. Myths analyzed through recurring themes and motives. Next we have post-structuralism. We also call it as deconstruction. Post-structuralism challenges structuralism by arguing that meaning is unstable, fluid and subjective. It suggests that language is ambiguous, meaning is never fixed, and interpretation varies among the readers. Language is subjective, and here Jacques Derrida's difference, meaning is always differed. Michael Foucault, language and discourse shape past structures, meaning is socially constructed and cannot be fixed. Other examples, Barthes, Foucault, Kristeva, a text may mean different meanings under different contexts with varieties. Next we have deconstruction, a method of reading text against themselves. Language is self-contradictory. Words have no fixed meaning. It differs from the context upon the author. Breaks down binary oppositions. Example, truth or falsehood. Texts reveal their own instability and contradictions. A novel about justice may reinforce injustice unknowingly. There is no outside the text. This was the quote given by Derrida. Next we have reader response theory. Meaning is created through reader's interpretation. This rejects meaning. Reader construct their own meaning. Wolfgang Iser, readers fill in gaps left by the text. Next we have Stanley Fish, who call it as interpretative communities shape meaning. Subjective reading experiences influence understanding. It also encourages personal engagement with literature. We have different readers who interpret differently according to the context. Example, we have Hamlet. Next we have psychoanalytic criticism. Psychoanalytic criticism, influenced by Sigmund Freud, explores unconscious desires, repressed emotions, and psychological conflicts in literature. This applies Freudian psychology to literature. This examines unconscious desires, repression, and conflicts. Carl Jung's archetypes, universal symbols in literature. Lacan's language and desire shape identity, studies author psyche and character motivations. Freud, Jung, and Lacan. Hamlet's destination has Oedipal structure. Next, coming to the archetypal criticism or myth criticism. Literature contains universal myths and symbols based on Carl Jung's collective unconsciousness. Northrop Frye's literature follows common archetypes, recurring themes, hero's journey, rebirth, mentor figures. We have such as Young, Fear, Joseph Campbell, The Lord of the Rings as a modern hero's journey. The strength explains universal appeal of the literature. Next theory, we have Marxist criticism. Marxist criticism, based on the ideas of Karl Marx, examines literature through class struggle, economic power, and ideology. It argues that literature reflects and reinforces social hierarchies. Karl Marx says class conflict shapes history and culture. Terry Eagleton, literature as an ideological product. He examines how capitalism influences the text. Example, Oliver Twist critiques capitalism and poverty. Links literature to real world power structures. Next theory, we have feminist criticism. Feminist criticism examines literature through the lens of gender roles, patriarchy, and women's representation. It challenges traditional male-dominated perspectives and seeks to highlight the voices of women in literature. Elaine Showalter, who was the pioneer in feminist criticism, with the three phases, women's literature has evolved through phases. Judith Butler, gender is a social construct. Intersectionality examines race, class, and gender. Jane Eyre as a proto-feminist novel. This promotes gender equality in literature. Next we have gender and queer theory. Explores gender identity and LGBTQ plus representation in literature. Judith Butler, gender is fluid and performative. This analyzes heteronormativity and marginalization. Michael Foucault says sexuality is shaped by society and discourse. This focuses on non-binary and queer identities. Example, Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This challenges gender stereotypes and the norms. Next theory we have post-colonial criticism. As the post-colonial criticism says that literature from former colonies focusing on the themes of identity, power, cultural displacement and resistance against colonial rule. It critiques Eurocentric perspective and highlights indigenous voices. Edward Said's Orientalism, the West misinterprets the East. Franz Fanon, colonization affects psychology. This studies hybridity, identity, and power struggles. Explores colonialism's legacy in literature. Example here, Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. This highlight the oppressed voices in literature. This examines literature mainly from colonized cultures. Next we have Ecocriticism. Focuses on the relationship between literature and nature. This explores human impact on the environment in literary text. Studies how literature shapes ecological awareness. This examines themes like climate change, sustainability, and eco-justice. Cheryl Glotfelty and Lawrence Buell, Theodoros Walden, which we call it as nature as spiritual refugee. This promotes environmental consciousness through literature. Cultural studies. This examines how popular culture, media, and literature intersect. Rejects the idea of a high culture versus low culture, the division between the two. Studies mass media, cinema, advertising, music, and social trends. Stuart Hall, culture is a site of power and resistance. This considers race, class, gender, and identity politics. Example, superhero films as reflections of contemporary politics. This explains how culture influences society and vice versa. Next theory, we have historical criticism. Literature is shaped by its historical and cultural context of the historical period in which it was written. This explores how historical events shape themes, characters, and literary movements. Stephen Greenwald, history and literature are deeply connected. Hegelian dialectics, literary movements evolve through contradictions. Rejects reading text in isolation from their time period. Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities, French Revolution's impact. This strength enhances understanding of historical influence on literature. Coming to digital humanities and cyber criticism, this studies how technology changes literary interpretation, uses AI, big data, and digital tools to analyze literature, focuses on hypertext, e-books, and online literature. Franco Moratti, distant reading, analyzing large data sets of text, and close reading. This examines social media's role in literature consumption. Example, fanfiction and interactive storytelling in online. Bridges traditional literary studies with digital advancements. Next we have narratology. Analyzes storytelling techniques and structures. Gerald Gennett studies narrative levels, perspective and time, explores who tells the story and how it's structured. Differentiates story, what happens, versus discourse, how it's told. Vladimir Prop, 31 Functions of Folk Tales, unreliable narrator in The Catcher in the Rye. This provides deep insights into storytelling mechanisms. Next we have intertextuality. Literature is a network of references to other texts. Geneva Christevia, no text exists in isolation, explores allusions, quotations, adaptations, and rewritings. Roland Barthes, reader constructs meaning from multiple texts. James Joyce, Ulysses as a modern Odyssey. T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land uses multiple intertextual references, shows how literature is part of a continuous dialogue. Next we have existentialist criticism. This explores meaning, absurdity, and individual existence influenced by Nietzsche, Sartre, and Camus. Literature often reflects alienation, freedom, and death. Jean-Paul Sartre, literature is an act of existential choice, examines how characters confront existential crisis. Misralt in Commerce, the stranger, absurd existence. Strength, it encourages philosophical reflection on literature. Next we have ethnic studies and critical race theory. This focuses on race identity and systemic discrimination in literature. W.E.B. Du Bois' double consciousness of racial minorities. Toni Morrison, deconstructing witness in literature. This examines colonial legacies and racial representation. Challenges Eurocentric perspectives in literary canon. Example, Alice Walker's The Color Purple. This brings marginalized voices into literary discussions. Next we have New Historicism. Literature and history are interdependent. Stephen Greenwald text reflects and shapes past structures. Unlike historical criticism, it focuses on hidden power dynamics, examines non-literary text alongside literature, explores how cultural forces shape literary production. Example, Shakespeare's play reflect Elizabethan anxieties. This uncovers how power influences literature. Next we have Psycho-Marxism, a future of Freudian psychoanalysis and Marxist theory. This examines how class struggles shape individual psychology. Venom rage, social oppression affects human desires. Literature reflects internalized class struggle and oppression, studies how capitalism shapes emotion and consciousness. Grigor sums up in Kafka's The Metamorphosis, alienation from labor combines economic and psychological insights into literature. Next we have Surrealist criticism. Literature as an expression of the subconscious influenced by Sigmund Freud's dream analysis. Henri Breton, literature says should be irrational and dreamlike, says Henri Breton. This rejects logical realism, emphasizes fantasy and subconscious, focuses on symbols, dreams, and automatic writing. Example, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude, explores literature beyond rational constraints. Cyber criticism and AI literature studies. Literature in the digital age, AI generated text and visual narratives. Hypertext theory. Digital literature is non-linear and interactive, examines how technology influences literary creation. AI generated poetry and stories challenge traditional authorship. Example, chatbots composing poetry based on human prompts. Posthumanist perspective, humans and machines co-create meaning. This expands literature beyond culture. As we came to the concluding part, literary theories offer diverse ways to analyze text. No single approach is universal. Each has strength and limits. Using multiple theories enriches literary interpretation. Theories evolve with cultural, historical, and technological changes. This encourages critical thinking and interdisciplinary perspectives. Literature remains a mirror of human thought and society. The more theories we explore, the deeper we understand literature. Thank you.